pension reform promised in Chancellor George Osborne's budget was pegged as the dawn of a new era, empowering people on the brink of entering or well into their schemes. But are these reforms bringing about a dramatic reconceptualization of what it means to be a pensioner in this country? Nigel Stanley, head of campaigns and communications for the Trades Union Congress, joins me now. Now, the main fixture of this policy, of course, is ending compulsory annuities. Now, why wouldn't you invite such a change?
Well, I think the problem with what the Chancellor did is he swept away annuities, but he didn't put anything in its place. The great thing about how we've done pension reform in the UK is it's been slow, careful, and been done through consultation and consensus building. And yet suddenly in the budget, this big rabbit was pulled out of the hat, and suddenly we don't quite know how pensions are going to work. And it's destroyed a very carefully built consensus.
Based on these reforms, what do you think the intention was of the government?
Oh, I think it was a bit of a political trick. I mean, we are in a tight electoral situation. We have an election coming up. This was let's challenge the opposition to do something. Let's ask them a question they don't want asked. Are you against personal responsibility? Well, actually, we've built a whole pension system in this country around the idea that personal responsibility doesn't work in pensions. When we had personal responsibility, leaving it up to people to make decisions about their future, to run an internal discount rate in their own personal economic model so they could calculate the value of deferred consumption against income today, then it didn't work. And so this is just political rhetoric. Yes, we should give people more freedom, but we need to think about how we should do it.
But I have to attack that a little bit, because the idea of having an annuity system that just doesn't work in some ways has even exploited people who perhaps wouldn't know any better. Doesn't that make the model just, show cracks in it altogether?
Oh, the annuity model in this country was broken. I think everyone agrees with that. The fact that insurance companies' share prices tanked as soon as it was announced, just showed how much of their profit streams were coming from annuities. And I think one of the problems with annuities is that because people live longer, the annuity is a guarantee that can go on for decades in the future. Guarantees are expensive. What we need is a system which has target returns but not guaranteed returns.
But what about those pro-reformers who say, okay, you want to take a big chunk of cash and perhaps invest it in real estate in the city, or perhaps put it in a fund? Are those not also long-term plans? For sure. I have no objection to people who've saved a huge amount having the freedom to do what they want with it. And we've always had that. That existed before the budget anyway, so there's nothing new about that. What is new is this destruction of annuities, this destruction of pensions as some kind of risk-sharing, risk-pooling vehicle with the objective of providing an income in retirement, which is what the members of unions want. It's what ordinary workers want. If we go out of the studio today, walk down the street and ask passers-by, what do you mean by a pension? They won't say a huge bank account when I'm 55. They will say a regular check every month. That's what I want from a pension. But when you have this big pot of money, it sounds like you just don't trust people to spend their money wisely in their retirement.
I don't trust people not to be ripped off. If we trusted people, there wouldn't be any rip-offs because people would make the right decisions. And I'm not being kind of left-wing trade unionist here. I'm simply understanding what goes wrong with markets. And what goes wrong with markets is asymmetries of information. We also know from behavioural economics that if there's one thing people are really, really bad at, it's planning for the future. I don't think the danger is they're going to rush and splash it all out on something stupid, but the danger is they will not know how to decumulate. And the trouble with the Chancellor's proposals is he's destroyed an insurance principle-based argument, which is a good one, but he's not put anything in its place. He's thrown away the risk-sharing baby with the market failure bathwater.
Well, you've got a plan that you think would be ideal for pensioners in the UK, and that includes collective decumulation. Tell me, what is that all about?
Well, with collective DC, the advantage is that you pool longevity risk when you retire, but you also share out the gains and losses of investment, both when you're saving and when you're decumulated spending, so that you can guard against volatility, but still take some risk in your investments.
The government is moving forward with their sweeping reforms. How do you propose that they now reassess what they've put in place?
What the Chancellor has done is create a vacuum. I would rather that we built patiently and constructively, but I think it's up to unions, it's up to responsible people in the pensions world, it's up to employers to work together to put something in its place. Now, the government, actually, possibly be fair to say another bit of the government, is also keen on this collective DC approach I've described, and we are going to get a change in the law to make it easier to do that. And it works in other countries. It works for employers because we're not asking them to take on extra risk. It works for members because they can smooth their returns and take the risk out that they don't, the volatility that they don't like, and it provides them with a better income in retirement than the DC that we've introduced following auto-enrolment, the automatic enrolment of everyone into schemes, which is progressive, but the schemes could probably be made better by this risk-sharing approach.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.